It happened again, didn't it? To you or to someone you love? I know your story. Everyone's situation is different, but the results are usually the same. Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. It was around 11:30 at night, your spouse had just fallen asleep, you're tired but something keeps nagging at you, so you decide to get up just to check your email. Or maybe to look on eBay or Craigslist for something that you know you really don't want or need. Then a few minutes later, it happens again. You have no idea how you got there, but you're there. You knew it happened, even though you won't admit it. You have a second of hesitation, but you know it's already too late. 1 hour quickly turns into 2, and then 2 into 3. You know you're going to be tired tomorrow for work, but at this point you just don't care. You know the shame and guilt you're going to feel, the look of pain in your eyes when you look at your loved ones, but it's already too late, isn't it? For some of you, this is a story that happens often. In fact, for some of you, it probably just happened. That's why you're here, right? For others, it hasn't happened to you, but to someone you love, a husband, a boyfriend, your child. Now, from the outside, your situation looks hopeless. From the inside, you feel trapped. You rationalize you're not hurting anyone else but yourself, but deep down, when you tuck your kids into bed and you kiss your spouse goodnight, you know that that's a lie you've been telling yourself and hoping it's going to lessen the pain. You're aching for a change, either for yourself or for a loved one. And that pain is real. It's being felt by millions of people all around the world, yet you still feel completely alone. You're feeling it right now or you wouldn't be here, right? But you're here now. Call it luck, call it destiny, call it whatever you will, but this time is different. This time it can't be a should. It has to be a must. If not, what do you lose? Your wife, your family, your job, your self-respect, your relationships. But it's deeper than that, isn't it? Do you have kids? What are their names? How will their lives be affected if you don't change yours right now? How will they look at you in 5 years from now, in 10 years, or on your deathbed? How are they going to remember you? You're writing your history right now, day by day, and if you don't like what's being written, now is your only chance to change, because tomorrow, as we know, never comes. But I know what you're thinking. I've tried it before. I've tried to use my willpower to stop. I've tried to use tools to block my computer from visiting those websites. I've promised myself over and over again that this time I would stop. But you didn't, did you? And believe me, the path to overcoming pornography addiction is paved with people trying to stop. But this addiction is much harder than they first think. Brain studies have shown that pornography addiction is comparable to cocaine or heroin addiction. In fact, did you know it's harder to quit porn than crystal meth or crack? But people don't talk about this silent killer. Although millions of people are silently struggling with it, lives and families are being destroyed every day because of it, but almost as bad are the millions of people who struggle with this addiction daily and live in misery every waking day trying to find a way out for themselves and their families. True, they're lucky this addiction hasn't yet strangled their family relationships, even though they are slowly suffocating the love, life, and happiness they should be enjoying. So is there hope? Is there a way back home? Is the light at the end of the tunnel you've been hoped for and silently prayed for really there? Because without that hope, why even try? Why put forth the effort if all there is at the end is heartache for you and your loved ones, especially when you've tried this before and you've failed? But what if there is a light? And what if that light wasn't just a temporary solution that would last a week or a month or a year, but that light was complete freedom? A way to break out of the chains of this addiction forever. A way to finally be able to look in the mirror and to be able to smile back at yourself. No more hanging your head in shame or guilt. No more sneaking back into bed hours past when you should have been asleep. No more erasing your browser history or making up stories about what you've been doing, but having absolute confidence that you not only overcome your addiction, not only had you conquered it, but you had stared your fear in the face and stepped up against all odds and you had earned your freedom. But it doesn't stop there, because after you change, you're going to start to notice other changes too. At first, it's going to seem small, almost unnoticeable. It will start with your spouse or your partner. The way they look at you will change. The way they act around you will change, because you have changed. And then you're going to start to notice it with your kids, not because they will know anything's different, but because you've become the person that they need to reach their potential. It will start to trickle down into your job and your other responsibilities. Your confidence will grow, your happiness will increase, and your pain, the same pain and fear that was tying you down and keeping you from your full potential, that was destroying you, your relationships, and your family, will now be gone. Almost as if it had never even been there. All because you were finally able to stop trying and finally do. Now imagine what your life would be like when you've reached this point. Just picture yourself. You just reached the top of the mountain. Your arms are outstretched over your head. A deep sigh comes out and a smile grows across your lips because you know you've made it. I want you to hold that picture in your mind for a minute because I'm about to reach out my hand to you to pull you up to higher ground. But before I reach out my hand and give you the tools that you need to forever free yourself from this addiction, you need to know that the trail to the top of this mountain is laced with traps set up and designed to destroy you. Now, if you've tried to quit in the past, then you know these traps are there. They are real, and more than once they've caught you, haven't they? It's impossible to succeed if you don't know how your enemy is trying to destroy you. These traps have destroyed and continue to destroy millions of people every single year, and they will destroy you again if you aren't careful. Now, the first trap is what I like to call symptom-based cures. If you've ever been to a traditional counselor or tried any other programs online, you've probably been confronted with this trap and lost. They spend lots of time trying to discover the triggers that ignite your cravings, and then they show you the techniques to block these triggers. Now, while it seems like a logical approach, the problem is that the triggers are not the problem. It's just a symptom of the real problem. You can cover the symptoms, but if you don't fix the root problem, the solution is just temporary. You probably felt the effects of this trap before. You rely on your very own willpower, which in turn starts to build up pressure. You normally start seeing some short-term success until one day you slip, and you quickly start spiraling downwards again into a very dark abyss that's worse than the place you originally started. Depression and embarrassment set in as you start to realize that you couldn't do it again. And the fear of failure pushes you deeper and deeper into a hopeless cycle, driving you back into the silent killer that you were trying to escape in the first place. Have you ever experienced that trap before? It's not an easy one, is it? Now, the second trap deals with addictions as a whole. Most people mistakenly think that all addictions are the same. If you're addicted to alcohol or drugs or tobacco, it's not the same thing as being addicted to pornography. And how you overcome pornography is not the same way that you overcome other addictions. Good-meaning people who are trying to help just don't understand this, and so they give their advice, well-meaning advice, that's wrong and potentially deadly to your efforts. Let me explain. In a normal sexual experience, your body releases 4 important neurochemicals. Now, these chemicals can give us almost unmatched happiness and joy with our partners. The first is called dopamine. The dopamine creates a feeling of ecstasy and arousal and focuses your energy on the experience. It creates a dependency based on your sexual experience and your partner. The second neurochemical is called norepinephrine. This chemical has a searing effect to burn the experience into your mind. The third is called oxytocin, which is a bonding chemical. It's the same powerful chemical that bonds a mother with her newborn baby. And the last chemical is called serotonin, which gives you a calm, good feeling after you climaxed. Now, in a normal sexual experiences, these 4 chemicals bond you and your partner together and bring about more happiness and joy than almost anything else you can experience during this life. But when you're viewing pornography, these same chemicals are released by your body. But instead of bonding you to your partner, they bond you to an imaginary fantasy and images. It creates confusion in your mind, and it can actually destroy the bonds you have with your spouse, your kids, and your family. So while people think that other addictions are similar to pornography addictions, they are wrong. Because of the power of these chemicals and the bonding and the searing that comes from them, it's much more difficult to break the patterns of abuse if you don't understand how these elements are working against you. And the third trap is the one that's the most scary for me, because this is the one that I personally dealt with myself. The third trap is called hopelessness. Now, not long ago, I was just like you. The reason why I know what you're going through right now is because your story is my story. Now, I still don't remember how it all started, but I do remember how hopeless I felt. I wanted to be happy for my wife, for my kids. I wanted to give them what they deserved, but every time I tried to step up, I fell back down. It seemed for every step I took forward, I'd fall 2 steps backwards. I tried everything I could think of to stop. Counselors, hypnosis, online training programs, and more. Each of these techniques focused on a part, but none of them was whole. This hopelessness felt like a 1,000-pound barbell on my shoulders. Sure, I could carry it for a while, but eventually the weight kept breaking me down, until one day someone reached out their hand to me. Just like the hand I'm about to offer you. But this hand, I could tell almost immediately, was different. This hand guided me through the traps, led me to the top of the mountain, and pulled me up on top, where I was finally able to celebrate. And not just for a day or a week or a month, but continual celebration with my wife and kids. That is the gift that I want to give to you right now. This is the freedom that I promise you is worth fighting for.